Mr. and Madam.
We'll have you turn on your microphone, please.
Hello. I just want to say I highly agree with my right honorable friend, Mr. Zhou, just said. The Chinese Communist Party has leased a war on its own people. So that's why I also brought this one with me. This medal was issued to those soldiers who shot students on Tiananmen Square 35 years ago. In normal nations, medals are given to the soldiers who's acting distinguishedly and brave on the battlefield against the enemy. But in China, the enemy, it appears to be its own people. It's said commemorative of putting down the riot. Those soldiers get this medal not because of their bravery, but because they're coward. Not because fighting the enemy, but slaughter their own people. And my story begins 5 years ago. 5 years ago today, the 30th anniversary of June the 4th, I took the street for the first time, committing myself into the movement of democracy in China. I was deeply intimidated by the atmosphere of fear cultivated by the Chinese Communist Party in Canada. However, the 2019 Hong Kong anti-extradition movement has further secured my determination of engaging into the Chinese democracy movement. In Toronto, I have actively participated with my Hong Kong friends, organizing support on democracy movement, supporting the Hong Kong people. As someone from mainland China, I have faced huge pressure from my own community, dealing with psychological stress from the harassment of the communist supporters and also the suffering from political melancholy. Things that happened during the protest remind me that the national border cannot stop CCP from spreading fears overseas. Some Chinese, organized and encouraged by the consulate, drove their luxury cars through our protesting line and shouting insults. They burned our flowers at the Statue of Democracy. Some protesters even received death threatening. My life was full of harassment of the strangers. In 2020, Dr. Li Wenliang, the whistleblower of COVID-19 who could possibly stop this global catastrophe from happening, was arrested by the Chinese police of so-called spreading false statement and labeled as a criminal. He died shortly after due to the virus. But surprisingly, I witnessed many young Chinese students attend a memorial event we organized in downtown Toronto, which deeply moved me. I called on everyone to be organized and bound together to overcome the fear and despair and fight for a life of humanity, human rights, democracy, and freedom. This led the founding of our organization, Assembly of Citizens. Over 3 years of COVID-19, the young generation in China has suffered from our human rights disaster. During the White Paper Revolution winter 2022, the Assembly of Citizens is capable to organize events and protest across Canada more professionally, more faster, as a group. Our friend in Europe became the mailbox of contributors and resistance fighters inside Great Firewall, becoming one of the most influential accounts as Mandarin account. He collected testimony and stories for human rights catastrophes and told those stories has been neglected by the international society to millions of people every day and simultaneously facing the threats of the Communist Party. Our friend in the US is making movies, talk shows, and all forms of arts in order to spread the awareness of the oppression of human rights in China. Our friend in Japan and Korea is trying to establish creative business to emphasize resistance as a lifestyle. Through dealing with various issues, we realized how to avoid divisions, build professional organizations, and more inclusive and strong link with other groups. 29 years ago, in this very same congressional hall, Major General Charles Sweeney, who testified about the decision dropping the atomic bombs, used to say, "One can only forgive by remembering, and to forget is to risk repeating history." The last rapid deterioration of human rights under a major power is 1933 in Germany. That year, when they enacted the Enabling Act, which brought Germany under the dictatorship. In that year, Peter Drucker, began writing his first book, The End of Economic Man, The Origins of Totalitarianism. Today, as we open this book, we feel if history is actually repeating itself. Let me adopt some of his words in today's situation in China. The Chinese substitute CCP for order when they cannot have a real order, and they worship Xi Jinping when they have no God to worship, showing its very intensity that they must have an order, a creed, a radical concept of man. Military intimidation against Taiwan, the suppression of freedom, persecution against LGBTQ groups, the re-education camps for Uyghurs and Tibetans, and the war against religion are signs of weakness instead of strength. The more desperate the Chinese become, the more strongly entrenched will totalitarianism appear to be. The further they push to totalitarian road, the greater will they despair. However, as soon as we offered an alternative, the whole totalitarian magic will vanish like a nightmare. This is the current situation in China, and this is our mission. We hope we can show all Chinese a new choice, a possibility for democracy and freedom lifestyle with dignity and the value of human rights. Therefore, I believe my colleagues can do their job well. I trust my predecessor from Tiananmen Square generation can cooperate effectively. I trust my allies can stand with us, and I also believe that you can make the right choice. Ladies and gentlemen of the committee, I truly appreciate for listening to my story. We're doing the best we can, but your help is necessary as well. After all, this future belongs to us, belongs to them, and belongs to you. Thank you.